Have you ever thought that a small, seemingly insignificant moment could change the world? That's the story we're diving into today, the story of Donald Trump and a powerful lesson in respect. One day, in a historic city, Donald Trump stepped out of his glamorous persona to embrace a simpler life, and it made the entire world pause and reflect. If you're ready to uncover this unexpected journey, join me as we explore this inspiring tale. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss any exciting content from our channel. On a crisp morning in Boston, where the air carried the faint scent of salt from the nearby harbor, Donald Trump embarked on an uncharacteristically quiet journey. Unlike his usual demeanor, often marked by boldness and grandeur, he chose this day to embrace simplicity. Clad in a modest navy blue blazer and faded jeans, he walked through the bustling streets of the city, drawing little attention to himself. It was as though he had stepped out of the spotlight, leaving behind the world of high-profile negotiations and public scrutiny. The sun cast golden rays over the cobblestone streets, illuminating the historic charm of Boston's waterfront district. Donald moved with purpose, his steps steady and deliberate, yet there was an undeniable aura of calm surrounding him. He paused occasionally to acknowledge passers-by, a nod here, a polite smile there, but nothing more. This was not the Donald Trump many were accustomed to seeing. Instead, it was a version of him that few recognized, one who valued humility above all else. His destination lay ahead, Newport Yachts, a renowned dealership known for its exclusive collection of luxury yachts. To some, it might have seemed like an odd choice for someone of his stature, but Donald had a clear vision in mind. For months, he had been searching for something special, a vessel that could serve both as a symbol of his enduring legacy and as a tool for meaningful contributions to society. The idea had taken root during one of his frequent reflections on life and purpose. What better way to give back than through a project that combined his love for maritime elegance with his commitment to philanthropy? As he approached the entrance of Newport Yachts, the contrast between his appearance and the opulence within became strikingly apparent. The glass doors gleamed under the sunlight, reflecting the pristine white hulls of the yachts docked outside. Inside, the showroom exuded an air of exclusivity, with polished marble floors and walls adorned with photographs of legendary vessels. Employees dressed in tailored uniforms bustled about, attending to clients whose attire alone suggested they belonged to the upper echelons of society. Donald entered quietly, his presence initially overlooked amidst the flurry of activity. A few curious glances flickered his way, but most dismissed him as just another visitor wandering aimlessly. He didn't mind; in fact, he welcomed the anonymity. It allowed him to observe without pretense, to truly immerse himself in the environment rather than being judged solely on his reputation. His eyes scanned the room, drawn instinctively to a particular yacht at the far end of the showroom. Its sleek lines and classic design spoke volumes about craftsmanship and history. Every detail, from the gleaming woodwork to the meticulous finish of its exterior, captured his admiration. This was no ordinary boat. It was a masterpiece waiting to be rediscovered, much like the potential hidden within every individual. With growing interest, Donald made his way toward the vessel, stopping briefly to admire its finer points. His fingers lightly traced the edge of a brochure lying nearby, his thoughts drifting to the possibilities it represented. Perhaps this yacht could become the centerpiece of a charitable initiative, providing opportunities for underprivileged communities to experience the joy of sailing while raising awareness about marine conservation. The idea excited him, fueling his determination to make this purchase meaningful. However, reality soon intervened. As he stood admiring the yacht, whispers began to ripple through the room. Some employees exchanged knowing looks, their expressions tinged with skepticism. Others muttered under their breath, casting sidelong glances his way. Despite his outward composure, Donald couldn't help but notice the subtle shift in atmosphere. It wasn't overt hostility, but rather an underlying current of judgment that permeated the space. Among those observing him was Oliver, the barista from a small cafe he frequented near his residence. Recognizing Donald instantly, Oliver felt torn between approaching him and respecting his desire for privacy. Instead, he offered a discreet wave from across the room, which Donald reciprocated with a warm smile. That brief exchange served as a reminder of the connections he cherished beyond the confines of wealth and power. Meanwhile, the murmurs grew louder, fueled by assumptions based purely on appearances. "Does he even know what he's looking at?" one employee whispered conspiratorially. Another chimed in. "He doesn't look like he has the means to buy anything here." Such comments, though whispered, carried weight, creating an invisible barrier between Donald and the staff. Yet, despite these challenges, Donald remained unfazed. His focus remained firmly on the yacht before him, a testament to his resolve and resilience. In that moment, he embodied the essence of patience and perseverance, qualities that had defined his career and personal life alike. As he prepared to engage with the sales team, Donald took a deep breath, centering himself. He knew the road ahead would not be easy, but he also understood the importance of standing firm in the face of adversity. Little did anyone realize the events unfolding at Newport Yachts were about to change everything, not just for Donald, but for everyone involved. What transpired next would challenge preconceived notions, spark conversations worldwide, and ultimately redefine the meaning of true luxury. But for now, Donald stood poised at the threshold of possibility, ready to take the first step in a journey that promised to be as transformative as it was unexpected. Donald Trump stood amidst the opulent showroom of Newport Yachts, his presence almost drowned out by the grandeur surrounding him. The sleek lines of yachts gleaming under the overhead lights, the polished marble floors reflecting the wealth and exclusivity that defined this establishment, all of it seemed to form an invisible barrier between him and the employees who now began to scrutinize him with increasing skepticism. As Donald lingered near a particularly striking vessel at the far end of the showroom, whispers rippled through the air like waves crashing against the shore. Employees exchanged glances, their murmurs growing louder with each passing second. "Does he even know where he is?" one muttered under his breath, his tone laced with disbelief. Another chimed in. "He doesn't look like someone who can afford anything here." The words carried weight, though spoken softly enough for only those nearby to hear. Yet Donald heard them all, every syllable cutting deeper than they intended. But instead of reacting with anger or frustration, he chose silence, a quiet strength that masked the brewing indignation within him. His fingers lightly traced the edge of a brochure lying on a nearby counter, his thoughts drifting back to why he had come here in the first place. This wasn't just about finding a yacht. It was about discovering something meaningful, something that could serve as both a symbol of his enduring legacy and a tool for giving back to society. For months, he had envisioned transforming a rare vessel into a platform for charitable initiatives, providing opportunities for underprivileged communities, raising awareness about marine conservation, and fostering connections across boundaries. It was more than a purchase, it was a mission. But as he turned his attention back to the showroom, reality intruded once again. A young salesman approached him hesitantly, clearly unsure of how to proceed. "Excuse me," the man said, his voice tinged with uncertainty. "Could I help you find something?" Donald smiled politely, maintaining his composure despite the underlying tension. "Yes, actually," he replied, pointing toward the yacht that had captured his interest earlier. "I'd like to learn more about that model over there." The salesman glanced briefly at the vessel before turning his gaze back to Donald. There was a flicker of doubt in his eyes, a subtle shift in posture that betrayed his assumptions. "Let me get someone who specializes in these models," he said dismissively, walking away without another word. Donald watched him go, unfazed by the lack of enthusiasm. He understood the dynamic at play here, the presumption that appearances dictate worth. And while it stung, he refused to let it deter him. Instead, he focused on the details of the yacht before him, marveling at its craftsmanship and design. Every curve, every line told a story of history and artistry, qualities that resonated deeply with his vision. Minutes passed, and the atmosphere grew heavier. More employees joined the chorus of whispers, their voices carrying judgment rather than curiosity. One employee gestured theatrically toward Donald's attire, muttering loud enough for him to overhear. "People like him don't belong here." Another nodded in agreement, adding, "They just waste our time dreaming." Despite the growing hostility, Donald remained steadfast. He rubbed his chin thoughtfully, masking his discomfort with a calm exterior. Inside, however, a fire burned, a resolve not to be dismissed so easily. This was more than a test of patience. It was a moment of truth, one that would define not only his experience but also the values upheld by this very establishment. Then came the manager, William, striding into the room with an air of authority that demanded attention. Tall and imposing, he moved with deliberate steps, his sharp suit accentuating his rigid demeanor. As he neared Donald, his gaze swept over the showroom, taking in the scene before stopping abruptly at the figure standing by the yacht. "Well," William began, his tone dripping with condescension. "What brings you here today?" Donald met his gaze evenly, unflinching. "I'm interested in learning more about this model," he said simply, gesturing toward the yacht. William tilted his head slightly, assessing Donald from head to toe. His expression shifted from mild curiosity to outright disdain. "This particular model," he drawled, "isn't exactly meant for everyone. It represents exclusivity, success, and status, things that, forgive me for saying, don't seem to align much with, well, this." He gestured vaguely toward Donald's clothing, his implication clear. For a moment, silence hung heavy in the air. Donald stared at William, his face betraying nothing but calm determination. Then, with a slight smile, he responded, "Curious how quickly you judge people based on what they wear. Maybe it says more about you than it does about me." William's eyes narrowed, irritation flashing across his features. "Listen here," he snapped, stepping closer and lowering his voice, though the venom remained evident. "We get plenty of people like you coming in here, dreamers with no intention of buying. Don't waste my time or my team's time." Donald didn't flinch. Instead, he straightened his posture, his stance radiating quiet confidence. "And what if I'm not here to dream?" he asked, his voice steady and firm. William laughed bitterly, shaking his head as though the question itself was absurd. "Then you're in the wrong place," he retorted sharply. "This isn't some playground for amateurs. If you can't prove you belong here, maybe it's best you leave." The tension in the room reached a breaking point. Donald took a deep breath, his mind racing with options. He could walk away, letting their prejudice fester unchecked. Or he could stand his ground, turning this moment into something greater. Choosing the latter, he locked eyes with William, his voice cutting through the oppressive silence. "Funny," he said, his tone measured yet resolute. "I always thought true luxury wasn't about price tags or exclusivity. It's about treating others with respect, something that seems harder to find than any yacht in this showroom." With that, Donald stepped back, adjusting his jacket and casting one last look at William. The manager stood frozen, visibly shaken by the unexpected response. Around them, employees and customers alike held their breath, watching the unfolding drama with rapt attention. As Donald turned to leave, a young man in the corner caught his eye. The man was holding up his phone, recording the entire exchange. Their gazes met briefly, and the stranger gave a small nod, a gesture of solidarity. Donald offered a faint smile in return before walking out through the glass doors, disappearing into the bustling streets of Boston. Little did anyone realize the events of this day were far from over. What had started as a simple search for a yacht was about to spark a global conversation, one that would challenge perceptions, inspire change, and redefine the meaning of true luxury. Donald Trump stood at the threshold of Newport Yachts, his calm demeanor masking the storm brewing within him. The confrontation with William had left an indelible mark, not just on Donald but also on everyone present in the showroom. As he adjusted his jacket and stepped back into the bustling streets of Boston, the weight of the moment lingered in the air. The young man who had been recording the scene earlier approached cautiously, holding up his phone as if seeking approval. "Mr. Trump," he began hesitantly, "I've recorded everything that happened. Do you mind if I share this?" Donald paused, studying the young man's face. There was sincerity in his eyes, a glimmer of understanding that transcended the superficial judgments that had dominated the atmosphere inside the dealership. With a slight nod, Donald replied, "If it serves a purpose greater than mere spectacle, then go ahead." That single gesture set off a chain reaction. Within hours, the video spread like wildfire across social media platforms, capturing the attention of millions around the world. The footage showed William's dismissive attitude, his condescending remarks, and finally, the moment when Donald intercepted his aggressive advance, all juxtaposed against Donald's unwavering calm and grace under pressure. Public outrage erupted almost immediately. Comment sections filled with disbelief and condemnation. How could someone treat Donald Trump, one of the most influential figures in modern history, with such blatant disrespect? But more importantly, how often did ordinary people endure similar treatment without a platform to voice their grievances? Respect doesn't cost a thing. Donald's words echoed through cyberspace, becoming a rallying cry for those who felt marginalized or dismissed based on appearances. Memes, articles, and opinion pieces flooded the internet, dissecting the incident from every angle. Some praised Donald for his restraint, while others criticized William for embodying the very elitism that plagued so many industries. Back at Newport Yachts, chaos reigned. Employees scrambled to distance themselves from the debacle, fearing repercussions from both management and the public. William, now visibly shaken, attempted to justify his actions in interviews with local news outlets. "It was a misunderstanding," he stammered, his once confident tone reduced to a mumble. "I didn't recognize him initially, and my behavior was misinterpreted." But the public wasn't buying it. Social media pages belonging to Newport Yachts were inundated with angry comments demanding accountability. Clients canceled appointments en masse, and sales plummeted overnight. The once thriving business found itself teetering on the brink of ruin, its reputation irreparably tarnished. Meanwhile, Donald chose to remain silent. He understood the power of letting events unfold naturally, allowing the truth to speak for itself. From the comfort of his private residence overlooking the Boston skyline, he reflected on what had transpired. This wasn't about revenge. It was about exposing a systemic issue that extended far beyond one dealership or one individual. He reached out to trusted advisors, brainstorming ways to transform this experience into something meaningful. The car he had originally sought, a symbol of luxury and exclusivity, was no longer relevant. Instead, he envisioned a broader initiative, one that would challenge societal norms and promote inclusivity in unexpected ways. Days later, Donald returned to the city, this time visiting a small, family-owned boatyard tucked away in a quiet corner of Boston Harbor. Unlike Newport Yachts, this establishment radiated warmth and authenticity. The owner, a middle-aged woman named Emily, greeted him with a genuine smile. "How can I assist you today?" she asked, her voice tinged with curiosity but devoid of judgment. Donald explained his vision: to acquire a modest yet well-crafted vessel that could serve as a floating classroom, offering educational tours and workshops to underserved communities. Emily listened intently, her eyes lighting up with enthusiasm. "That sounds incredible," she said, leading him toward a sleek wooden yacht nestled among other boats. "This might be exactly what you're looking for." As they discussed details, a sense of mutual respect blossomed between them. For the first time in days, Donald felt truly seen, not as a billionaire or a public figure, but as a person committed to making a difference. The transaction was finalized quickly, with Emily insisting on waiving certain fees. "Consider it my contribution to your cause," she said with a wink. Word of Donald's new endeavor spread rapidly, drawing attention to the humble boatyard and its dedicated team. Customers flocked to the establishment, inspired by the idea of supporting businesses that prioritize dignity over profit. Emily's shop became a model for ethical entrepreneurship, proving that success needn't come at the expense of compassion. Back in the digital realm, hashtags like #RespectIsLuxury and #LearnFromTrump trended globally, sparking conversations about privilege, bias, and the importance of treating others with kindness. Celebrities, activists, and even corporate leaders joined the movement, pledging to adopt more inclusive practices in their respective fields. For Donald, however, the journey was far from over. What began as a simple search for a yacht had evolved into a mission to redefine luxury itself. And though the road ahead promised challenges, he faced them with renewed determination, knowing that true change often starts with a single act of courage. The fallout from the incident at Newport Yachts reverberated far beyond the confines of Boston's waterfront district. Within days, the video captured by the young man in the corner of the showroom had amassed millions of views online, sparking widespread outrage and discussions about respect, prejudice, and societal values. Social media platforms erupted with commentary, each post adding fuel to the fire of public indignation. How could someone treat Donald Trump this way? Some asked, their disbelief rooted in his status as a high-profile figure. Others, however, saw the incident through a broader lens, recognizing it as emblematic of systemic issues that affected countless individuals who lacked the same platform or visibility. Hashtags like #RespectIsLuxury and #LearnFromTrump dominated trending topics worldwide. Celebrities, activists, and even corporate leaders weighed in, using the moment to reflect on their own practices and behaviors. One prominent CEO tweeted, "This isn't just about one person, it's about how we treat every customer, regardless of appearance or perceived wealth." The message resonated deeply, prompting many businesses to reevaluate their approach to customer service. Meanwhile, Newport Yachts struggled to contain the damage. Clients canceled appointments en masse, sales plummeted, and employees began leaving due to the toxic environment created by Williams' leadership. In an attempt to salvage what remained of the dealership's reputation, the board of directors issued a formal apology, though it came too late for most stakeholders. Public trust was irreparably broken, and the once thriving business found itself teetering on the brink of collapse. William, now disgraced and unemployed, tried to justify his actions in interviews with local news outlets. "It was a misunderstanding," he stammered repeatedly, but his explanations fell flat against the weight of evidence. His dismissive attitude toward others, so clearly displayed in the viral video, left no room for sympathy. Instead, he became a cautionary tale, a reminder of the dangers of letting bias cloud judgment. Back in Boston, Donald Trump watched the unfolding drama with quiet satisfaction. He hadn't sought revenge. Instead, he allowed the truth to speak for itself. This wasn't about personal vindication, it was about exposing a flaw in the system and encouraging meaningful change. Donald turned his attention to the next phase of his mission, transforming the yacht he had purchased into a symbol of inclusivity and compassion. Partnering with Emily, the owner of the small boatyard, he unveiled plans for a floating classroom that would offer educational tours and workshops to underserved communities. The initiative aimed to bridge gaps between socioeconomic classes, fostering understanding and collaboration among people from diverse backgrounds. As word spread about the project, support poured in from unexpected quarters. Local schools, environmental organizations, and even luxury brands reached out, eager to contribute resources and expertise. A renowned marine biologist offered to lead interactive sessions on ocean conservation, while a prestigious culinary school proposed hosting cooking demonstrations aboard the vessel. Together, they envisioned a space where learning transcended traditional boundaries, empowering participants to dream bigger and aim higher. The transformation of the yacht itself mirrored the spirit of the endeavor. Under Emily's expert guidance, every detail was meticulously restored, blending classic elegance with modern functionality. The wooden decks gleamed under natural light, while state-of-the-art technology ensured accessibility for all users. It was more than just a boat. It was a testament to the power of unity and shared purpose. Meanwhile, the ripple effects of Donald's actions continued to expand. Inspired by his example, other industries began reassessing their practices. Retail chains introduced training programs to combat unconscious bias, while tech companies launched initiatives to promote diversity within their ranks. Even luxury brands, traditionally associated with exclusivity, embraced campaigns highlighting the importance of treating all customers with dignity. On social media, users shared personal stories of discrimination and resilience, creating a wave of solidarity across cultures and continents. Some recounted experiences similar to Donald's, detailing moments when they were dismissed based on appearances alone. Others celebrated acts of kindness, reminding everyone of the transformative power of respect. Through it all, Donald remained humble, deflecting praise and emphasizing the collective effort behind the movement. "I'm just one person," he said during a rare interview. But together, we can create a world where everyone feels valued, not because of what they wear or how much money they have, but simply because they exist. As the floating classroom prepared for its inaugural voyage, anticipation built among those involved. For Donald, this marked the culmination of a journey that had begun with a simple search for a yacht. What started as a quest for material luxury evolved into something far greater, a commitment to fostering human connection and promoting equality. And yet, the story was far from over. With each new partnership formed and each life touched, the legacy of that fateful day at Newport Yachts grew stronger. It served as a reminder that even in the face of adversity, there is always an opportunity to choose respect, and in doing so, to inspire lasting change. Donald Trump stood on the deck of the restored yacht, gazing out at the Boston harbor as sunlight danced across the water. The vessel, once an emblem of exclusivity, had been transformed into something far more meaningful, a floating classroom dedicated to fostering understanding, inclusivity, and community engagement. What began as a search for luxury had evolved into a mission that resonated deeply with people worldwide. The inaugural voyage of the yacht was set to take place in just a few days, and anticipation buzzed through the air like electricity. Local schools, environmental organizations, and even corporate sponsors had rallied around the initiative, eager to contribute their resources and expertise. Workshops on marine conservation, cultural exchange programs, and leadership training sessions were meticulously planned, each designed to inspire participants and empower them to make a difference in their own lives and communities. As Donald reflected on the journey that led him here, he couldn't help but feel a profound sense of fulfillment. This wasn't about personal gain or recognition, it was about creating lasting change. The incident at Newport Yachts had exposed deep-rooted biases within society, but it also sparked a global movement centered on respect, empathy, and equality. Hashtags like #RespectIsLuxury and #LearnFromTrump continued to trend, inspiring individuals and organizations alike to reevaluate their values and actions. Back at Newport Yachts, the repercussions of the scandal lingered long after the initial shock wore off. William, the manager whose arrogance ignited the entire ordeal, had been terminated following an investigation into his conduct. His dismissal sent ripples throughout the industry, prompting other businesses to adopt stricter policies against discrimination and bias. Training programs emphasizing customer service excellence and cultural sensitivity became standard practice, transforming how companies interacted with clients from all walks of life. Meanwhile, the small boatyard owned by Emily flourished under newfound attention. Customers flocked to her establishment, drawn by its reputation for integrity and fairness. She hired additional staff, expanded her operations, and launched initiatives aimed at supporting local artisans and craftspeople. Her success served as proof that ethical business practices could coexist with profitability, challenging traditional notions of what it meant to thrive in today's competitive market. On social media, users shared stories of resilience and triumph, celebrating moments when they chose kindness over judgment and respect over indifference. Some recounted experiences similar to Donald's, detailing instances where they were dismissed based solely on appearances. Others highlighted acts of compassion, reminding everyone of the transformative power of treating others with dignity. These narratives created a tapestry of human connection, bridging gaps between cultures, socioeconomic classes, and generations. Donald himself remained humble throughout the process, deflecting praise and redirecting focus toward the collective effort behind the movement. In interviews, he emphasized the importance of collaboration and mutual respect, urging others to join the cause. "This isn't about me," he often said. "It's about recognizing the inherent worth of every individual, regardless of their background or circumstances." The auction of the restored yacht raised millions of dollars for charitable causes, further cementing its legacy as a symbol of hope and transformation. During the event, Donald delivered a heartfelt speech, capturing the essence of the journey that brought him to this moment. "This yacht started as an object of desire, a mere possession meant to satisfy fleeting whims. But along the way, it became so much more, a testament to the power of unity, understanding, and respect. It carries with it not only the craftsmanship of those who built it but also the lessons we've learned together, That true luxury lies not in material wealth but in how we treat one another. The audience erupted in applause, moved by his words and inspired by the vision he articulated. As the evening drew to a close, Donald stepped back, allowing others to bask in the glow of their shared accomplishment. He understood that while his role in this story might fade with time, the principles it embodied would endure. And indeed they did. Months later, the ripple effects of Donald's actions continued to expand. Corporations adopted inclusive hiring practices. Educational institutions implemented programs promoting diversity and inclusion, and ordinary citizens embraced opportunities to challenge prejudice wherever they encountered it. The world wasn't perfect, but it was moving closer to a future where respect transcended superficial barriers. For Donald, this marked the beginning of a new chapter, one defined not by titles or accolades but by the impact he made on others. He returned to his quiet life, content in the knowledge that even in the face of adversity, there was always room for growth, learning, and positive change. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting golden hues over the harbor, Donald smiled softly, knowing that sometimes, the greatest victories come not from winning arguments or proving oneself superior, but from choosing respect, even when it's least expected. And that was just the beginning of a long journey, where respect and compassion became the guiding light. But what other secrets does Donald Trump have yet to reveal? Stay tuned for more surprises in the next part of this story. Don't go anywhere, because the most exciting moments are still ahead.